Hi everyone, I'm Joe, and today, instead of talking about books, I am going to be talking about films. Now, as you can tell by the title of the video, this is about all the films that I watched from April to June 2017. And I went to the cinema 5 times in those 3 months, which is, for me, pretty much dead average. And I saw 5, at least pretty good films, and a couple of them were, frankly, amazing. And I'll start off with the first one, which I saw in early April, if I'm not mistaken. And that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is a superhero action movie starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, and guest starring Kurt Russell as a very significant part, especially to do with Chris Pratt's character. Now, this is a Marvel film, and it is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so it is indeed related to Iron Man and the Avengers films and all the rest. As yet, it's only had a relatively small link in the first film, Volume 1 of it. The only link was basically the Infinity Stones, and in the second film there's still a link to do with the Infinity Stones and Thanos, but this time there is another link towards the end of the film, which they're obviously bringing it in directly to link with Infinity Wars, which is going to be next year and 2019. I can't say what this link is, but it is definitely there, and it's an interesting one. I suspect they'll actually have a significant part of a plot line will be directly related to this event that happens in the film. And I mean, overall, I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It was just as fun as the first one. I mean, admittedly, the one thing about the first film that I personally liked was it felt a bit more, well, you didn't really know what to expect from it, of course, because Guardians of the Galaxy is the sort of smaller franchise, so to speak, of Marvel. Obviously, the main one being the Avengers. Guardians of the Galaxy is a sort of similar team, but like an independent team, though. The second film, you know what to expect. However, they don't falter with this, though. They still manage to make remarkable action scenes and characters, and just everything about the film works really well. I mean, I love this film, I really did. It's well worth watching in the cinema, on a great big screen, and I just really did enjoy it. All the characters do play their parts well. You can tell that they all enjoy playing the parts, and Groot makes obviously an appearance, of course. I mean, he's part of the team after all. This time, however, considering the events of the first film, this time Groot is not a giant sort of 7-foot, essentially walking tree. This time he's a very small baby Groot. And while it's kind of amusing and kind of cute, I suppose you could say, frankly, I actually prefer Big Groot, frankly, because it's more interesting. Baby Groot was just sort of amusing for 5 minutes, and then he's just sort of like kind of annoying, frankly, I personally found, but that's just me. I know a lot of people think it's fantastic. Anyway, overall, a great film, well worth watching, and by the way, Kurt Russell does a brilliant part of, well, the part he does, which relates to Chris Pratt, which I'm not going to say about, but it's an amusing part, and frankly, you can tell that he enjoys doing the part. You can also tell that, frankly, he doesn't really know anything about the Marvel Universe. And indeed, I've watched interviews where the whole of the Guardians team have been there, and they're talking, and frankly, Kurt Russell's just like, whatever, man, I'm just here to, to play a role and have fun, sort of thing. And all the rest of them are being a bit more serious, and he's just like, whatever, he didn't really give a damn. I like that, and it sort of shows on camera, frankly, as well, which actually makes the film almost better. The fact that you can tell he sort of is just there because for being almost having fun with it. So it's nice to see, it really is. The second film that I watched was Alien Covenant. This is a science fiction horror. Obviously, this is a sequel to Prometheus, which is by Ridley Scott, which was 3 or 4 years ago now, which I also saw in the cinema. Obviously, this is a prequel to the original Alien film, starring Sigourney Weaver. This film stars Michael Fassbender and Catherine Waterston. And it's difficult to talk about without giving away spoilers. But suffice to say, in the first film, there was a mission to colonise another world or to explore, and it doesn't go well. Obviously, I mean, this is Alien we're talking about here, so things aren't exactly going to go well. In this film, let's say it's more significant, the alien part of it, because Prometheus was more about the origins of the alien itself and how it was actually created, or where it came from, or how it was evolved, or whatever. Now, this does directly show you how it evolves. I mean, quite literally. I mean, it almost shows you the biological processes and stuff, but in a slightly different way. And I actually like this much more than Prometheus. Prometheus only had a slight link to Alien, I thought. Yes, it still has the H.R. Giger visuals, of course. Sadly, he died a number of years ago now. In the last 5 years, I think. It still has that, but Prometheus didn't have the feel quite right, I don't think. It didn't work for me that well. Alien Covenant works much better. Basically, it feels more like an Alien film. I mean, my personal favourite Alien film, by the way, is Aliens, the second one. And it feels more like that because they're on a ship, there's things running around, they're also on a planet, and there's things on the planet as well. And indeed, the alien, as we know it from the original film, and indeed the second film and the other two, does make an appearance properly this time. In the first film, Prometheus, it was different. This time, Alien is the alien, that we all like and are meant to be scared of. The one with acid for blood and all that. I really enjoyed the film. The plot was good. It actually made sense. Characters, again, were perfectly good. And I'm just glad I saw this in the cinema, because there were a few moments watching on a big screen that did make me jump quite badly. Of course, because it's the sheer scale and obviously the volume and the atmosphere was frankly fantastic seeing it on the cinema screen. It really was. I enjoyed it fully. The next film that I saw was the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean film, which in the UK is called Salzar's Revenge, and in America and I believe most of the rest of the world is called Dead Men Tell No Tales. Now, I have no idea why they're totally different in the UK for, although I can say that I much prefer the American and the rest of the world's title for it, which is Dead Men Tell No Tales, because I think that title basically fits in with the other four Pirates of the Caribbean films much better than Salazar's Revenge. Salazar's Revenge is, well, frankly, it's too simplistic. The other four titles sound more sort of piratey as such, and they sound a bit more, I don't know, something about the titles I think work well. Salazar's Revenge I just think sounds a bit blunt and to the point. The film itself was good. It wasn't anything extraordinary, frankly. I mean, it was the fifth film in a franchise starring Johnny Depp. It also brings back the character of Jeffrey Rush again, and also has the main bad guy being Javier Bardem as Salazar, who really doesn't like Johnny Depp's character at all. As I said, it's a fun film to watch on the cinema, and I'm glad I watched it on the cinema because obviously it's scale and everything, as I've said before. But it was almost predictable, frankly, because you know that there's going to be wild sort of chases. You know that Johnny Depp is going to be playing up to the character of Captain Jack Sparrow, and sort of playing it sort of rather a mad, sort of crazed pirate who you're never entirely sure whether he's meant to be drunk or just playing mad most of the time, because he seems to just sort of get into situations and then just luckily gets out of them by the skin of his teeth. And overall, the film does work, especially on the first cinema, because it's just fun, fast-paced action adventure, which you can't help but enjoy. It doesn't do anything overly new with it, and my one issue, I suppose you could say, or one weird thing that I think is a bit odd, is to do with the continuity of the actual film. Now, this film stars, along with Johnny Depp, the son of Orlando Bloom's character from the original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, who is about 20 years old in this film. So this means that this film is set at least 20 years after the third Pirates of the Caribbean film. Which, considering that in that film, Johnny Depp's character must have been, I always got the impression that he's meant to be in his late 40s. That means that Captain Jack Sparrow is now probably around 70, close enough. And he doesn't look 70, obviously, because, well, he's not 70. So he doesn't look quite right, I don't think. They should have tried to age him a little bit more, frankly, because he doesn't quite fit the look of the age, frankly. It's just a minor thing, though, that I noticed it for some reason quite really badly, but some people might not bother some people. It's just one of those things for me. So the fourth film that I watched was probably my favourite out of these five, and that was Wonder Woman. Now this is a superhero film based on a DC Comics comic book series, and it stars Gal Gadot as obviously the title character, as the Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, and it also has Chris Pine from Star Trek, the new Star Trek fame. Now I love this film, especially on cinema. It had everything you could want from this sort of film, and then some, frankly. It really did surpass most other comic book films. I mean, I enjoyed this film far more than Guardians of the Galaxy. It was easily my favourite DC comic book film, although obviously DC have made less films. The ones they have made have been debatable, to say the least. But this one was actually a truly good film. This is something that DC should be proud of, and the fact that they've already confirmed that they are indeed going to be making a sequel to it, basically the instant it was released on an actual release day, obviously shows that they actually have confidence that this film can be made into something worthwhile, and obviously made into a small franchise. I would assume it's going to be made into a trilogy, because nowadays everything seems to be made into trilogies, but we'll see. Obviously this is going to be also building directly into the Justice League movie, which I believe is next year in 2018, I think. I could be mistaken though, because it's been a while since I've checked, but I think it was next year. And it builds into it rather nicely. Obviously, the idea of Wonder Woman is that it's to do with the gods. They have made a race of sort of Amazonian warriors, sort of, who are a big group of women living on this island. It is isolated from the rest of the world. They train to be these extremely sort of, amazing warriors, as well as obviously doing philosophy, and it's not just about being physically sort of super soldiers. It's, they're also highly intelligent as well. Gal Gadot is a very important part of them in some way, which obviously I'm not going to talk about, because in case you might not know, it could spoil something. Probably won't, because it's kind of well known who and what she is, but still. And this is set in World War II. I know that the original Wonder Woman was set in World War I, so it's a little bit of a more recent film, although they're doing that to plot reasons, which I understand. The plot was really good, all the action and the characters were really good, and frankly, Gal Gadot does the role of Wonder Woman fantastically. This has everything you could want from a superhero film and more, and it was just really fun. It was thoughtfully done, and the one thing I'm glad of, and indeed I was a bit concerned about, is having Chris Pine in it, obviously from Star Trek fame, as I've said. I was like, are they going to try and make too much of his character? Is he going to become almost like the main character above Wonder Woman, which would have been ridiculous? But considering, obviously, Star Trek fame, thankfully that's not the case. Yes, he plays an important role, and a significant role ties directly into Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, but it doesn't overshadow her. She's still the main character by miles. She dominates every aspect of this film, and that is the way it should be. I mean, it has to be that, because it's Wonder Woman. You can't have a Wonder Woman film where she doesn't dominate every single scene, really. I mean, yes, other characters do get the moments in the sun, but it's still her film, which is the way it should be, and for that, you have to give it some really good credit, and you can't help but admire the film for that, because they didn't go the way that they could have gone. They could have made it extremely male oriented if they hadn't been careful, and sort of made Wonder Woman out to be something minor, and they didn't. They actually made it into the film it should be. And so basically they did the idea of Wonder Woman justice, I thought. And I think, from what I can tell, most people seem to be thinking the same thoughts that I have, that they're doing well with the idea. And finally, the last film that I watched this barely over a week ago, was The Mummy. This is made by Universal, and this is the first film in their new sort of franchise series, which they're calling their Dark Universe. From what I can tell, this seems to be basically directly inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think several other studios are trying to think of ideas for this as well, where basically, because of Marvel have managed to make the Marvel Cinematic Universe with all the films linking one from another into something bigger as time goes by. Now Universal's got on board, and they're making essentially a kind of a horror franchise version, and they're doing it in a curious way, because this is obviously the first, being The Mummy. This is not a remake of the 2001 Brendan Fraser movie, which I watched at cinema and I loved it, which a lot of other people did as well, and The Mummy Returns, which was probably even better than the first film, which is rare. This is not meant to be a remake, or at least the way I watched it wasn't a remake. I initially thought, when I first heard about the fact that it was remaking 6 months ago, that, oh yes, it's just going to be a remake, and especially when I heard that Tom Cruise was involved, because I'm always a little bit wary of Tom Cruise. I was like, really? They're going to remake The Mummy with Tom Cruise as basically Brendan Fraser? Really? No. But I'm glad that's not the case, because while Tom Cruise, he plays a decent role in the film, and indeed he is the lead role, and it's almost certainly the most highly paid actor on the film. I mean, he generally gets paid like 30 million plus per film. The main role, and indeed the dominating role of this film, was not Tom Cruise, however, because his role was fairly insignificant and it's just quite normal. He plays a kind of an everyman, so to speak, again. It was Sofia Boutella as the Mummy. She played the role of the Mummy, which was played in the previous version, the Brendan Fraser version, by Arnold Vosloo, extremely well. She plays it. Basically, this film is much darker than that film. I'm going to point out that everybody keeps referring to it as a remake of that film, but actually the Brendan Fraser one, technically, that's not exactly new and original. I mean, the original Mummy film, the first Mummy film, was, I think, a black and white, as far as I'm aware, a very long time ago, nearly 100 years ago. I mean, well before I was even, before my parents were alive. So, I don't really know too much about it, but I do know that the idea of The Mummy is obviously not a new one. So to me, people keep saying it's a remake. You could sort of say, well, vaguely, yes, I mean, it is the same studio, but only in terms of the vague idea of a mummy sort of, coming into our modern world from the past and, sort of trying to then, dominate the earth and become, the ruler of all they survey kind of thing, which is done extremely well. And like I said, Sofia Boutella plays this role extremely well. I mean, she's a professional dancer who's now moved into movies, and you can tell the fact that she's a professional dancer, frankly, because the way she moves as the Mummy is really significant, because she moves in a different way than what you'd expect. I mean, Arnold Vosloo in the previous two Mummy films, he did the role well, I'm not saying otherwise, but he was just a guy playing the role of the Mummy. Sofia Boutella moves in an unusual way. She really makes some movements of her arms, how she walks, how she sort of stands up straight, everything about her. She's doing it in a very particular stylistic way, and frankly it works really well. And frankly, I'm interested to see in particular more what she's going to be filming in the future, because basically this is now the second film I've watched in recent years where Sofia Boutella has been a sort of a secondary part, but she's actually dominated the film really, really badly. So I'm very interested to see what else she'll do. Tom Cruise is, well, it's Tom Cruise. He's got one of these actors that you almost want to dislike him, and you kind of expect him to be, you know, really stuck up and a complete egomaniac. But actually, I think you hear about him, he actually sounds like a reasonably decent guy. You know, he actually gets on with his, you know, all his co-stars and things, and he actually cares about them. And actually, it's kind of annoying that the fact that he actually seems like a decent guy. You kind of almost expect him to be, frankly, unpleasant, like some of these big Hollywood stars are. You know, some of them are egomaniacs. He, not so much really, from what I can tell. But anyway, it's not about that anyway. So yeah, The Mummy, a good film, not a remake, just using an old idea basically in a new way. And this is actually much darker, and there's a few moments which actually made me jump as well. Which, frankly, with the first two films, well, not first, the previous two Mummy films with Brendan Fraser, they didn't have that effect. This does. This actually makes you jump because it's darker and more brutal, which, frankly, I was almost surprised by, but I was happy to see. And with that said, that is it for all the films I've watched in the previous 3 months. If you've watched any of these, or indeed are planning to watch any of them, although frankly at the moment I think the only films that are still out are Wonder Woman and The Mummy. Obviously they're only a few weeks old, so they should still be available. Then you can let me know, and you know, we can have a conversation. All my social media links can be found in the description box below. I mean, that is it for this video. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.